Welcome, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tabacco Show. I'm Matt Tobacco from SmokinTabacco.com, and John Carney is not with us tonight, but we will be with him later. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But he is watching from afar. We are joined tonight with our special guests, Luis and Alec from Casa Cuevas Cigars. Boys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you guys on. Your brand is one that is newer to us. It's something that I've seen around, but I didn't really know much about. So I was really excited to sit down with you guys and get to know more about you. I love discovering new brands myself. Like I have my regular stuff that I normally smoke, but it's also fun when you can get into, you find a new brand and you're like, oh, and you get to, you try stuff and then you find new stuff you love. And so I lit up the Habano that you guys have out right now, the Robusto, and it's delicious. Now, I'm predominantly a Maduro guy myself, but I also do love Habanos, Sungrowns, and then Connecticut Shade I usually enjoy, but not as much. So loving this cigar, actually. It's very well balanced. Burns good quality. This is a nice cigar. I'm really enjoying it.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nicole, what are you smoking over there?
I'm smoking the Reserva Maduro, which is delicious. I love it. I'm a big Maduro person, so.
Yeah, so you both are Maduro persons.
Yes.
Yeah. We just, it for me, I was sun-grown for like the longest time, and I was like, yeah, I like Maduros, but now I'm like more Maduro like all the time. And she started off with like, I think she had, when she first started smoking, I think she had like an LFD Ligero Maduro.
Wow.
She was like, oh my god, this is too much for me. But
bad.
like now she can smoke that cigar, and she's like, yeah, it's all right.
What do you mean? One of my favorites is the Lennox.
I know now she smokes the Lennox now. Like, so she's definitely grown into Maduros. She's come a long way. What are you guys smoking?
Yeah.
I am smoking a Maduro from our core line, which hit the ground a little while ago, and it survived though. But that's what I'm smoking, a Toro from our core line. I had started smoking it way before we got on with you guys, and my son is smoking. Ditto. I'm also smoking Habano right now.
There you go. Yeah, it's a good stick. I have to say, I was gonna do the Maduro too, but I was like, I don't know, like I kind of want to do like something different. Like she does one, I do another one. But I'm excited to try the Maduro.
Yeah, you know what is something interesting, and I think it's kind of cool. Our not our Reserva line, but our Maduro and our Habano are identical in terms of filler and binder. They just worked out that way. When we were blending them, that wasn't the intent. We just came out with a blend that we liked, and then we slapped on Connecticut. Didn't work. The Maduro worked clearly. That's the core line Maduro, and then the Habano worked as well. And we kept trying to reinvent the wheel, and ultimately we just said, let's leave well enough alone, and we stayed with the blend and with the two wrappers, and they're distinctly different, and they work really well together. So, a lot of folks always wonder if wrappers make a difference. Well, there you go. Case in point, these two cigars are totally distinct and identical inside, from binder to filler, proportion-wise. It's all the same, but the wrapper, it just turned out that way. We weren't trying to take a shortcut. It just happened. It happened that way. So. Yeah. It's kind of interesting that it worked out.
That's the magic of blending too. I mean, you just, for like a lack of a better term, a lot of the times you're throwing shit together. You find out what works together. You find out how the tobaccos marry together. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But when and I've obviously never done blending myself, but having these conversations like with John Carney, who's always on the show with us, it's a process that's truly it's something I imagine is very unique, and it's very fulfilling to do. You experiment, you taste it all, and
it is. When you hit a home run, it is. But a lot of times we've talked about it. The best way to blend is to go down to the factory, right? Because right now we're working on a new project, and my father, he's at the factory, and every 3 weeks or so he'll fly to Miami. They have a house right around the corner from where I live right now, and he'll bring in what we've agreed that we're going to try to blend together. So he'll bring in sample 1, 2, 3 of whatever. and it's a really tedious process. Whereas if you're sitting there at the factory for a week, you can get a lot done. And it becomes work to some degree, right? It's a lot of fun, but after a while, by the end of the day, when you smoke cigar 58s, you're like Nicole was after she smoked that first LFD, right? You're not feeling really well. But the interesting thing is we'll find a blend that we think we like on that Friday afternoon before we catch a plane to come home. And God, we're so excited because Wednesday or Thursday, it was great. Friday, everything's been rolled, ready for us to catch a plane. We come home and we let it sit for another 7 days. And then you try it, and those flavors just did not blend well together. And the amount of change that happens in a week or two with a cigar is incredible. With a newly blended cigar, I'm talking about a fresh cigar. So a lot of times we'll walk out of a project thinking we've got it, and then it's back to square one because it just didn't. It worked well right off the get-go, but when you revisit it, no chance. Yeah, no chance.
So your family has been in cigar making for quite a long time. And I believe you said that started with your great-grandfather. Is that correct?
Yeah, and to clarify, the tobacco business, right? So my grandfather emigrated from Spain in the 19th century from the northern part of Spain, Asturias. From what I understand, he was a farmer by trade up there. Winds up in Pinal del Rio, Cuba, which is the westernmost part of the island, tobacco country. And lo and behold, becomes a tobacco farmer because that's what they were farming. My grandfather then built it up and did very well. And then in 1959, everything gets taken away, confiscated by Castro. So in 1970, we emigrated to Spain. We were there. I was born in Cuba. I was 4 at that time. We emigrated to Spain. And then in December of 70, we wound up coming to the States. And, we've been in the States ever since. Well, when my dad lands in the States, he wasn't going to be a tobacco farmer and he wasn't going to be in tobacco. He starts an air conditioning business, does very well. And then one of his brothers decides in the 80s that he wants to revisit what my grandfather had done from the manufacturing aspect. Now, my dad tells me that although they were tobacco farmers, they were essentially manufacturing cigars, but it was more for themselves than anything else, right? So my uncle and my father started that business in the 80s. My dad was essentially financing things because he still had the company over here. And then in 1997, right at the height of the boom, he and his business partner dissolved the company. His partner retired completely. And my dad went 100% with my uncle over there to the Dominican Republic in Santiago. And I remember even in the 80s when the factory was started up, I would spend my summers, I was in high school, with my uncle at the factory. It was a phenomenal time. Santiago, if you've been to Santiago now, it's a really populated city. There's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of people. But back then, it was really sparse. So, for example, I learned how to drive a stick-shift car in Santiago. That's how empty it was. And, if you've driven stick, that getting out of that first gear, the car stalls on you, all that nonsense. It was that empty. There was really not much there. And then the 90s come, as I said. And through that factory of my dad and my uncles, Trujillo went through there, the first Gurkhas went through there, Dunhill, Villiger, Peterson of Dublin, La Perla Habana over the course of time. I mean, just a lot of pretty cool brands made their way through our factory at that time in the 90s when the boom was really going on. Fast forward to 2009, obviously I had a different career, I was doing different things. And my uncle decided he was going to just not be in it anymore. And my dad was ready to come back to the States, and I'm an only child. So I flew over there and I said, let's kind of keep this thing going. So we did. And, fast forward, here I am with the brand. And the reason we hadn't launched the brand, just kind of fast forward a little bit beyond what I was just saying, was because I didn't know how to launch a brand. And then the FDA, I don't want to get geeky on everybody, but the FDA mandated in late 2016, you had to do it then or never do it at all. So we had no choice but to launch in 2016, although officially the cigars went into market in April of 2017. And it was just a matter of having to do it or never do it. At least we thought. Things have changed now, but at that time we didn't know that this was going to happen in terms of the FDA backing up a little bit. So we launched it. And unequivocally, I've been asked this several times by a lot of people in podcasts and whatnot. Having a factory is much easier than having the brand. The brand is really difficult to do. There are a lot of really good cigars out there, and you're not only are you fighting for shelf space, if you want to call it that, but consumers have a lot of good cigars to choose from. It's a great time to be a cigar smoker. So to get our cigars into somebody's hands for us is a treat. It's an honor, and we're humbled by it. Always, when I meet anybody that's going to try our cigars, I always say, "Do you have a humidor?" And equivocally they say, "Yes." Well, I want to be part of that humidor. I want to be part of your rotation. Not the only thing you smoke, but something that you smoke on occasion. But getting there is a challenge and a half, right? It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. So, anyway, I gave you way too much information. I think.
No, that's
okay.
good. That's good. It's it's you're the guest. It's the place for you to to talk and fill us in, and that was awesome. And it was a lot of information, but it was good information. But again, it's a theme that continues to run, and it's one of the things I love about the business is you guys have a family business, and the tobacco industry, well, the cigar specifically, the cigar part of the industry is such a family oriented business. I mean, a lot of these other brands out there, you look at them, you can name half of them, and it's all like the grandfather, the son, and now the son's coming up. Now you have your son here, who's learning the ropes now and getting into this industry and continuing the legacy. Hopefully, I guess was, the goal.
Ideally, yeah.
For a better role model in regards to that. I jumped on board with my father as of 3 years ago, so I'm still finishing up school at Florida International University. And with that in mind, my father would have me over at the office to kind of package the cigars and help them, send it out. But at the time, I had a bunch of school going on. I was working at a retail shop, a cigar retail shop. At that moment, up until I decided, I really want to go into this. My father at the time, and then my father allowed me the position of director of operations, and I've been here with him ever since.
That's awesome. So, what was the first cigar you ever smoked?
The first cigar I ever smoked, and I feel as if a lot of first-time, or rather smokers that have had their first experience with a cigar can relate to this. So the first time I had a cigar, I was 17 years old. It was New Year's Eve, and it was essentially me, my dad, and my grandfather. And the first cigar I've ever smoked was our prototype Maduro. So how that came about was, definitely. I mean, it was an experience. I got about halfway through before understanding that I wasn't smoking it properly.
Nicole feels your pain.
Yeah. It made me relatively green in my stomach. But essentially how that conversation went, to give you Reader's Digest, my grandfather looked over at me and he said, "Have you ever smoked a cigar before?" And at this point in time, I've been going to the factory in the Dominican Republic. I have actually helped around at this point in time. I've grown up with, this whole aspect of that family history. So in full confidentiality, I feel like I really haven't tried cigar. And he says, "Oh, what are you doing? Try this one. Here you go, right off the bat. It's going to be a prototype." And, I thanked him, and I went and I tried it. He taught me how to cut it properly. He doesn't use cutters. He's the type to really bite it off. So even to this day, if I'm you just to bite off the back.
And this was your grandfather?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's funny, not to interrupt, but it's funny because it's like a lot of the, and I don't want to use this term, but I don't, the older generations or the old timers who are, in cigars. It's funny, I talked to John, he's like, yeah, Lito Gomez, he doesn't use a cutter. He rips it off or bites it out. I feel like that's the thing. A lot of the older guys, they don't cut. They just tear it and they go.
Well, I do that. I guess I'm an old timer, right? But I do that because I lose my cutters. I lose them all the time. I don't have a lighter that's worth a damn because I'll lose it. So I'm always hanging out with some cheapy lighter, which I will lose inevitably. And the cutters, I just use my finger and go like that. It becomes a problem when you're lighting up a torpedo. Then what are you gonna do, right? Yeah. But I've learned that if I sit it between two teeth and I chew on it and I break it off, I get away with it a little bit. But I use my fingernail, and my father likes to bite it off, and Alec likes to bite them off. So
So Alex, so you still don't cut?
I mean, I do cut. Don't get me wrong. I do end up cutting. Right? If there's a cutter to be found, I do want like a clean cut, just because I mean it's much cleaner in comparison to. A big notion in regards towards me fighting off the back end of the cigars, the fact that I like names. I'm a very anxious kid, so especially when it comes to this business support events, I always tend to get very nervous, and because of which I am a nail biter. I'm trying my best to kind of get rid of that to a degree, but because of which I can't take off the back end of my nails. So if I don't have a cut, the next best option would be to use my teeth. So.
That's a first on a podcast. You haven't said that before, but it's true though.
I just wanted to tell you really quick. I think we're having a little bit of a trouble hearing you. I don't know if it's just the things or whatever. I don't know what it is, but you're coming like much fainter, like on your audio.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure.
Sorry, we check the comments from time to time.
Yeah.
So.
The audience.
Should we move over here? Is that? Go ahead, talk now.
Wait, is this okay now? Can you guys can hear me on your end, correct? Or do I still seem as if I'm faint?
I can hear you. It does sound more faint. Like your dad's coming through clear, and you're coming through like a little like. Just it sounds like you're like far away. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure what it is, but
the microphone might be on my dad's
maybe
end.
that's what it is. I thought they both had one, but.
What about if we swap seats and then he's on my end right next to this here? Do you think that would work?
A bit better.
We could try that, yeah.
Yeah,
let's try
swap.
it. It'll be closer.
All right,
Or you
everybody.
can just swap pods.
That's what I was saying.
Swap the pods.
Swap the pods out.
Nicole's brilliant.
There we go.
That's a lot more than Nicole. Okay. All right. Is that better? Well, you can hear me. Can you hear him?
Alex.
Talk, sir.
Can you guys?
Much better.
That's better. Yeah, that's
there
better.
we go. Sorry,
See,
audience,
we've had a lot of experience doing technical difficulties on the fly, so we know all the tricks.
That'll work. Okay.
For those who were there for our early days of the Smokin Tabacco show, it was rough, and I'm gonna blame John Carney because he was the one producing the show back then, so it is his fault. But it's all right.
The one guy not in the room is the guy you're blaming. Okay.
I know he's not even here to defend himself. Such a cheap shot.
That's terrible.
I know, right? Well, he's got a lot on his plate. He's getting ready for his the Gourmet Smoke Sessions event, which is tonight, live from Fox Cigar in Arizona, and we will be on there after. Nicole and myself will be on there after this. So there's the plug right there. So keep an eye out for that. But
very cool.
We do have some guests with us, so we're going to focus on them. We'll worry about John later. No offense, John. I love you. I do want to hit our news really quick. Can we let's toggle that in there? Our news segment is brought to you by McAuliffe Cigars. Our good friends at McAuliffe. If you're not an ambassador, sign up and become an ambassador today. Get your tasting passport, get your coin, get your ambassador number, get yourself into the ambassador group on Facebook. It's a hell of a time, and they have a great lineup of cigars. Biggest news of this week, I would say, in terms of non-release news, would be the PCA has officially confirmed the trade show will go on in July as planned. Nicole and myself will be there, as I'm sure most of the industry will be there. I don't know. In terms of retailers, I think maybe it might be on the lighter side. Who knows? I know you guys, we were talking before the show, you guys mentioned you were going to TPE, but you will not be exhibiting at PCA, but you will be there.
We will be there physically, because I want to see my colleagues and certainly not be absent from it and support it. We are members of the PCA. We're just not going to have a booth this year because it's too close to TPE. And as we were talking about earlier, we're a small brand and a small company, so having the booth in May at TPE and then fast forwarding in July, which is really close to May, obviously, and then doing the same thing at TPE. I mean, at PCA is going to put us just uncomfortably close to one to the other. So we're putting our eggs into one basket and still going to be there just to support, but not to have an exhibit booth. Yeah.
And it's funny because we talked about this, in the past on the show. Just last year was the show's going to happen. They didn't. Then it was all right. What are we talking about this year? Like then TPE got moved to May, and as soon as that happened, we had this conversation. It was there's going to be a lot of people who feel like, all right, You go all the way out there to Las Vegas to do a show in May, and then 2 months later, you go and do another show. It's just so close. And there was a lot of speculation. You know, we were saying like, well, does PCA go, you know what? Yeah, like maybe we should move it out a little bit. Maybe let's go towards like September and try to give them some more time. And they didn't. And I get it. You know, they didn't even have a show last year, so they're trying to put this together. I'm happy that there is a show, you know, because the show itself is important. I feel like a lot of people think that it's just a show, but it's not. It does raise money for them. So the fact that they're still going to put something together and try to get some revenue for the PCA is still huge. But yeah, exactly what you've just said and what the situation you're in is what I suspect a lot of other companies, especially companies, you know, within your size. I mean, the big guys, yeah, they're going everywhere. But there's a lot of smaller brands, and a lot of those brands are going to look at it like, okay, like it is expensive to go to these trade shows. It's expensive to get your staff there, get your product there, have a booth space. I know what it costs to set those booths up, just to have them moved around, and the power setup is expensive. And those things add up. Hotel stay, you know, and then you're doing it within a span of 2 months, and then you know you do orders at one, and then you go back out there shortly after, and then people are like, well, I just bought from you, and my stock just came in, you know.
Yeah, that's the biggest fear, because both of those shows are really mostly attended by a lot of West Coast folks, and for them, a jaunt over to Vegas, whether it's from California, Arizona, New Mexico, it's not that big a deal. So you know, we're gambling that they're hungry for a trade show. They're going to show up at TPE. And if they do, and I see them again, you know, 2 months later, then they're going to say, hey, hi, Luis, hi, Alec. And we just bought from you 2 months ago. The stuff's doing great. We'll see when we see you. And, you know, we'll place an order in another 2 months, whatever it may be. So for us, it doesn't work financially. It's so we picked the one. And also, I mean, TPE is a much shorter event. It's 3 days in and out. And PCA, you're there for easily 7 days. And you're right, it does get expensive after a while, right? Yeah. So I wish, though, I wish, I'm not in charge of it, obviously, but I wish PCA had been moved to a much later date in the year, maybe October, even November, already getting to Thanksgiving, but October would have been great. And that would have given enough of a gap between the two. Not to mention the weather's probably going to be a little better, et cetera, et cetera. Not that I care, right? Because you're indoors anyway, but it would have been just, then I would have done it. Then somebody like me, I would have definitely done it, right? I would have done both. Because hell, I mean, we did January of 2020, before COVID, we did TPE, and I was ripping and raring to go in July at PCA. I mean, I had my booth, I had my set out, I had everything already ready to go, and I was excited about being there. This is only 2 months away, one from the other. Too close for me.
Right.
And I think a lot of people too are going to be going to PCA over TPE, is what I've heard.
Yeah.
Just because some people think TPE is still too soon, so we'll see though.
I think that the stigma with TPE is if it's not that it's too soon, and then there's people are worried about COVID or whatever. I think a lot of people are also looking at it like, well, but PCA is a cigar show. TPE is a little bit of a mixed bag. So if people are kind of in the same boat, are like, well, if I'm only going to one, I want to go to the cigar show, not the tobacco show.
And you're right. You're right.
And I guess it's to each their own. You know what I mean? And you guys are going to make it based on what's best for you. And I guess it's a case by case basis. But
what I will say though, if you are still poking around the PCA, we will have to chat with you about any announcements while we're there, since we're going to be interviewing everyone. So we'll still have to have time to sit down with you.
Oh, that'd be great. I mean, and we will definitely stay in touch between now and then. I'll let you know that we are going to be there. I mean, we will be there physically on the floor somewhere. I'm just not, you know, when we first went and we launched a brand, we would go to PCA, IPCPR back then, and we would try to do business using friends' booths, right? Because I have friends in the industry, and I'm friends with a lot of brand owners, so we do that. I'm not doing that this time, obviously, because I'm at a different stage business-wise. However, something like sitting down with you folks and talking, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to. Not to mention, even if we don't do an interview of any type, just to say hi in person is really kind of cool, because
Yeah.
you get to meet a lot of people during these podcasts, and they're really far away, and then they, finally get to meet them in the flesh. It's always very nice,
Yeah,
I think.
we're so excited for that too. I couldn't have said it better. I mean, we in our first year of doing the show, we've met so many people. We've brought on virtually, and we've brought on sponsors who we've never met in person, and it would be really awesome to just finally meet everyone face to face and just be like, oh my god, hey. And it would be cool because it's like you're not even just meeting them for the first time like you normally would at these events. It's almost like a reunion. Like, oh my god, remember when you came on the show? Hey, like we talk all the time. Whatever it is, now here we are. That's going to be fun, and especially considering last year not much happened because everything stopped and it was almost like time froze last year. It'll be great just to kind of be together again. So no matter which trade show you go to, I guess my closing remark is, whatever one you do go to, if you are going to one of them or both of them, it'll be cool for the industry. It'll be special, but also just on a personal level for everyone, I think it'll be very refreshing. So it'll definitely be a good time.
A sense of normalcy a little bit. Yeah.
So let's get back to you guys instead of getting too wrapped up in the trade shows. You guys, how many SKUs do you guys have in the line right now?
Well, let's see. In the Connecticut, in our core line, we have 3. Robusto, a Toro, and a Gordo. In our Habano line, it's the same 3, but there's a box pressed as well. So that's 7. And then in our Maduro line, core line, there are 4 as well because it's the box press as well. So that's 11. Then there's a Sledgehammer. I don't know if you know the story behind that one. La Mandaria. I'll tell you that one. And we launched the Reserva line. So back in December of 2018, we purchased a warehouse in Miami. Excuse me. And it needed some work. We did the work. And in January of 2019, we moved in. We built a humidor, and it's a typical warehouse with a bay door. The office has a front door, and then there's an alleyway with a back door. So we placed the humidor against the back wall because that occupies the least space, correct?
Yeah.
February 11th, we had gotten our first shipment end of January, early February, end of January, Alec? Yeah. So what these guys did is they used a sledgehammer, and they broke in through the back wall, and then they cut into the humidor, stepped in, and wiped us out. The entire stock was gone. 25,000 cigars gone. There was 7 guys, 5 hours, and there were cameras everywhere. It captured them doing all of it, and it was quite painful. We were able to replace the cigars fairly quickly because I have a factory, but there was a line we had come out. There was a limited edition line called the Flacos. There were 7x43s in Habano and Maduro, 500 boxes Habano, 500 Maduro, 10-count boxes, each numbered, so that on top of the box they were etched 1 of 500, 2 of 500, etc. I had gotten a huge batch of these from the factory, but out of sequence. I didn't know if I had gotten 53 or 25. I had no idea. And we had also gone through some of them in terms of sales. When these were stolen, I had no idea if Nicole had bought box 43 of 500 of the Maduros. Well, I couldn't replicate that and have another 43 because people were actually collecting these boxes. They were different, blah, blah, blah. So that was a loss. It was gone. I could never replicate those again. So my son, as we're sitting there licking our wounds, says, let's come up with something and make some lemonade out of these lemons. And La Mandaria, the sledgehammer, was born. It was a principal tool used to break in. We made a cigar to try to recoup some of those costs that we couldn't get back because those cigars were gone. And lo and behold, it just became a home run. I mean, at PCA, when we had our booth, we took a sledgehammer with us. It was the cigar to talk about for us as a brand. And now it's part of our core line, and it's been a great hit. Half Wheel did their consensus report, and La Mandaria came out 22. I mean, it's amazing how something that I would have never created, but for those circumstances, we came up with, and I got to give this guy credit for it. It was a project that was done on the fly. I mean, all of it, from the packaging to the blending. We flew down to the Dominican Republic. I think in 2 days we had the blend. I mean, we're going hyperspeed with this thing, and it just turned out to be a phenomenal cigar.
And I like the packaging because I had gone through looking at all of your bands, and I had said to him, like, oh, that was very different compared to the other ones. So.
Yeah, it's different. Thank you. So that's the way the Sledgehammer was born. So you include that one, and then you include the 3 SKUs that we have for the Reserva line, which is our grandfathered product. And we have 3 in the Maduro and 3 in the Connecticut. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 17, 16.
So I mean,
16 SKUs.
To kind of echo what we were talking about earlier, so you're obviously a smaller brand, but you're growing. And you guys are obviously on the rise. What has been, I guess, the biggest challenge that you faced? Now you mentioned earlier, it's different, being a manufacturer versus being a brand. What has been the biggest challenge of continuing to grow that brand, and adding SKUs and getting them out there? We did a little bit of a little look around on kind of what your popular areas were, because I noticed you guys weren't really too deep up here, but you guys had a lot of presence, especially down south. Obviously, growing that territory is huge. But again, what has been your biggest challenge, I guess, in terms of inflating that brand, so to speak?
Having boots on the ground that get the cigars into people's hands. Yeah. Now in New England, we spoke earlier, we have Joe DeMari, and if Joe's watching, hello. He's a firefighter, and God bless him for that, first of all. And then he's got the schedule where he's got that 1 day off or 2 days off, whatever it may be, where he's able to visit shops and he's passionate about it. If a brand like ours has cigars in a place like New England, let's say Boston, and clearly we don't live there, and the cigars come into that shop, well, if I don't have anyone there to do a cut and light, to introduce patrons to it, to sort of nurture it a little bit, then it sort of gets lost. A lot of shop owners don't have the time to hand sell the new product. They'll put it on the shelf because they like the cigar and maybe they like us, but inevitably people will walk in with their $10 bill or whatever it may be and say, I know this cigar and it's always consistent. Why would I try this one? Because it's in a pretty shiny box. I've never heard of it. Do I want to light up my $10 bill and burn it? And the answer is going to be no, they're not. So the challenge really is to have someone in a territory that moves the product by doing a cut and light, by working the humidor, by getting it into the patron's hands, by creating events so that when we fly up or out, or whether it's west or north, and go and then do an event with that shop, we can't do that from down here in South Florida. It's a big country. That's been the biggest challenge. And, we've got really good people in place, but it's been tough. It's been really, really tough. And I can't blame the shop owners. I mean, they'll bring you in, but then they'll say, hey, listen, they're just not moving. Well, they're not moving because no one's there to support it. And I live down here. So how often can I possibly go? I mean, we go to Arizona 4 or 5 times a year. That's 4 or 5 times a year. And I'll visit a shop essentially during the course of a year 4 times, 5 times, tops. If we don't have someone on the ground there to work it, it's gonna die a slow death, right? We're not a household name. We're just not. Whereas if you're a Fuentes, people walk in there automatically knowing what they're getting, right? They know it already. Maybe in 20 years, we'll be there, but right now we're not. That's been a huge challenge. No?
Definitely. He took my response quite literally right out of my mouth. It's essentially just getting it into people's hands, as simplicity as itself, because truth be told, like we said, if you're well known on a brand and you've been with that brand smoking for an X amount of years, and here comes a boutique brand, well, are you going to go in ahead and place your faith in towards something you don't know, or are you going to go with something you're very well familiar with? And I think most people to go for what they're familiar with.
And that's it. Go ahead, Nicole.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask. So for people who might not be familiar with you, and they might have to do a little bit more digging to come across your brand, what would you tell them? Why? What would you tell them?
That's a good question.
About your brand to go out and find it and get it in your hands.
we're a family business, first of all, so as small comes, and it's a generational thing. But I think what we try to set ourselves apart from other brands, and I don't know if other brands do this or not, so let me not knock I don't call them competitors, my colleagues in the industry. We very much are all about customer service. So when there has been an issue with a cigar at a shop and the shop owner contacts us that a customer had an issue, we replace, no questions asked. When people reach out to us, we essentially immediately respond to them. And we are all about that connection with folks. The cigars we have, we try to do the very best we can. We are blended Scotch, right? So the cigar is in the Dominican Republic, but for example, the one you're smoking, Matthew, the cigar itself has tobaccos from Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, Colombia, Pennsylvania, and the wrappers from Ecuador. I mean, the one Nicole's smoking right now, Mexican wrapper, Olor binder, and inside you got Pennsylvania, Nicaragua, Dominican Republic. And we try to sort of have a smorgasbord of cigars, or tobaccos rather, when we blend. And maybe other people do that. We definitely try to do that a lot. So, you know, I don't know. I think the quality of our product kind of speaks for itself. We do stand behind it 100%. We're open to criticism. If we get criticism, we try to remedy it, not fight it. Mm-hmm. I mean, when someone tells me I don't like your Habano, but I do like your Maduro, that's a home run for me. It's okay. If something in the line fits your bill, I'm okay with that. You don't have to like the whole thing. I think we try to make cigars so that there's something there for everyone. Even our Connecticut is, we call it a smoker's Connecticut on both ends, or the reserve or the core line. It's something that if you're looking for flavor, you're going to get it. It's not your boring Connecticut. And it goes great in the morning with a cup of coffee. A lot of them do. But ours, I think, really kind of fits the bill of the seasoned smoker, right? They're going to get a lot of flavor out of that. And finally, my focus, as I said earlier, our focus is we want to be part of your humidor, not the only thing you smoke. Listen, I get tired of my own stuff. He gets tired of our own stuff. Whenever you go with brokers and they carry other lines, first thing I do is give me something that I haven't smoked. And, you know, when I get to a shop and I'm there to introduce myself, if I'm smoking somebody else's cigar, at best, all I do is take off the band and then I walk in because I'm really enjoying the cigar. So it's ultimately give us a shot. Hopefully we're part of your go-to. Hopefully we're part of your repertoire, whether it's once a week, twice, every 2 weeks, whatever it may be. We're okay with that, you know? I don't know.
I love that.
Yeah.
You mentioned something interesting, and I like asking this question because it's always funny to get the response, because everyone's different. So when it comes to other brands, what do you guys like to smoke?
We get asked that a lot. Go ahead, answer first, sir.
Well, I like I said, when I worked at that retail shop, I used to work at a shop known as Neptune's. They have a very big online retail.
Yes.
And essentially from the first day, my boss at the time, Luis, told me, okay, you see this wall of Monte Cristo, well, begin smoking this one, and the next day you're going to smoke this one, and so forth. So I had the wonderful opportunity, because I was a child at a candy store, to be completely frank, to smoke just about everything. So I'd say my go-tos right now in regards towards what I like and something that I really just kind of find myself going for, the Espinosa Crema. I love that Connecticut. The La Longa I was very big on for a portion of time as well. The Southern Draw Rose of Sharon, I am absolutely obsessed with that cigar.
It's a good cigar.
I think definitely. One of the smoker Connecticut's, it's a smoker's Connecticut. I think it was a band that drew me to it the first time around. Then ever since then, I've been in love with it. Aladino, their Pure Corojo before they had their Maduro. That was another phenomenal one that I've been on. I think it's hard for me to say what my go-tos are right now, because I can quite literally pick up just about any cigar and genuinely enjoy it, knowing full well that a lot of time and effort went into it. Now, there are some cigars that I'm not a big fan of in terms of that bitter factor or in terms of them being too spicy, but I'd say I'm all around the board in regards towards what I enjoy smoking from my fellow manufacturers and distributors.
Yeah, it's always so fun and refreshing to hear people say, because you target someone with a brand and as special as that is, I always I'm always like, well, when you're not smoking your own stuff, whose stuff are you smoking? Some people like they don't like to answer that question, so it's always funny
Some
to
people
watch.
don't want to give it away. They're like,
They're
we'll
like,
only smoke what we have, and we know that's not true.
Oh, heck no, it's not true. I smoke a lot of Espinosa because I'm friends with Jack Trano, and I'm friends with Eric. So I smoke a lot of Espinosa, not only because I'm friends with them, but because I really enjoy it. HBC is something that I really enjoy as
Yes, I
well.
love the Black
so
Friday.
good.
Yeah,
My
terrific
favorites.
cigars,
Hot cake.
and Rainier is a phenomenal young man. Roma Craft I like a lot. I like their stuff. I happen to like Skip, but I like their cigars as well. And people that I've never met, but whose cigars, if I walk into a shop and I don't see brands that I'm friendly with. So in other words, a lot of times I'll walk into a shop and I'll support my fellow manufacturers that I'm friendly with without them knowing. I don't do it and call them and say, hey, by the way, I bought a cigar of yours and I'm supporting you. But inherently it's there, right? But for consistency, for example, the Padron 64, I just think it's a solid cigar. I've never gone wrong with one. So that's something that I go to if I'm somewhere and I don't recognize a lot of the stuff. It's a smaller humidor, but they have that. I'll buy that. So I'm kind of all over the place as well as Alec is.
Yep.
But the answer is, yeah, I smoke other stuff and I enjoy other stuff. Absolutely. I'd be lying if I told you not.
Yeah, at the end of the day, even though we are distributors and we do have the brand, we're cigar smokers too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's the whole, that's the special behind it. It's at the end of the day, it's smoking cigars. Whether you own a brand or not, like you like to smoke. It's
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's just smoking cigars, and I love putting people on the spot and be like, all right, so like who else's stuff do you smoke? And just to watch them go, It's always fun. I do want to get to sports really quickly. I know we're getting kind of close on time, so I want to make sure I have plenty of time for that. Our sports segment is brought to you by Nova Cigar. Hashtag Make Nova Big. If you head to novacigar.com, you can use our discount code SMKTAB15 to save 15% off of your order at novacigar.com. Sports. So normally John is with me for sports, but he's not, so I'm going to try to do this the best that I can. I in no way plan to emulate John, but I'm going to do the best I can. I know, but it's a shame because this was kind of a big week in the NFL. The Patriots have been signing almost every free agent available. It's been interesting to watch. Cam Newton was re-signed for another 1-year deal with the Patriots, and then they went out and they hammered down several players and really started to beef up the roster again. And it was really nice to see because after what we saw the past 2 seasons, it was kind of like the last year of Brady, and it wasn't that great. And then it was the first year of the post-Brady era, and Cam Newton came on. And it just kind of was like, nah, I think this is the end. And we talked about it, and we were like, well, Cam Newton might not come back. Cam Newton really got into the Patriot way, so to speak, for those who understand that, and really put in the work and put in the effort. And I think that, with a good roster around him, maybe he might have a better chance this year. So it would be really interesting to see. I know we were speaking before the show. You guys are Dolphins fans. So
we are.
It's kind of painful to talk about Patriots to you guys or anyone who's a fan of any other team in the AFC East because it's kind of been like the left out club for so long. But like I was saying, we were talking about Tom Brady. You guys were excited to watch Tom play in Tampa Bay. Even though you guys were saying you're not Tampa Bay fans, it's at the end of the day, it's the talent of the individual that is very amazing to watch. And he's not here in New England anymore. And so I think the blessing guidance that I have bestowed upon you guys was, well, we don't have Tom anymore. So regardless of what happens, I think you guys have a much better chance of beating out the Patriots going forward, regardless of what happens. So,
I think the Patriots and Dolphins were swapping players. I read in the Herald today. Man, that's a local newspaper here. They swapped out. 2 went from Miami. I forget the name of the 2 to New England, and New England sent 2 over to us. Free agents I'm talking about, not a trade.
Right.
So it's a back and forth. And yeah, I mean, thing about Tom Brady, I've never been a Brady fan in terms of when he's, playing our team or whatever, but I'm a Brady fan as an athlete. He's just phenomenal. It's just an amazing, amazing talent. So, yeah, it was cool to watch him go to a Tampa Bay team that hadn't been anywhere near relevance in forever and win the damn thing. How cool is that, right?
I remember when he signed with them, I was just like, I mean, it is Tom. He's going to a new team. It's a new system. It's a new world. He's going to need some time to get into that. And then first year, win Super Bowl. And I just remember, I remember sitting there with John, and John was just like, going to the playoffs, I said, I'm not cheering against Brady because I don't like him, like some people were doing. I was rooting for Breeze and then Rodgers just because I said, for the first time in my life, I don't feel so guilty being like, I just want to see if one of these two other quarterbacks who've also been put up kind of higher on the pedestal, like, hey, can they beat Tom Brady in the playoffs and be like, hey, no, it's my turn. And he steamrolled his way to the Super Bowl, and it said at that point, I said, all right, fine, I'm going back to Team Tom. Not because I don't want to, but it's like, okay, like my point was proven. Those two couldn't beat him. He's in the Super Bowl. He earned it. Okay, it's Tom. And John was saying, like, just let the greatness speak for itself. There's no more arguing about Tom. Patriots and Tom are now separate, so you can say what you want about the Patriots. But when it comes to Tom Brady as an individual player, just let the greatness speak for itself. There's no more like, this is the mark where you're never going to see it again. You will never see it again. He's
as unique as they get.
Yeah.
And by the way, as a side note, going back, you had mentioned Nova Cigars, and that's a brand that whenever I find it, I do smoke it. I really, really like the brand. I like the people behind the brand. So Nova is also something that I enjoy smoking. So anyway, just happened to mention them, so I'm mentioning them as well.
Yep.
Yeah, no, they're a partner of ours, and we do enjoy them.
That's cool. I had no idea. That's awesome.
They were our first partner, actually. They had done right when we first started, Leo, and she's been great.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah.
She's great.
Oh, yeah. She's
great.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, if you have a chance to smoke a Nova out there, pick it up. You're not going to be disappointed.
Yep.
See, and here we are. We circle back. Like, here's the owner of one brand telling you that, hey, this other brand is also fantastic. You should try it. Yep. And I think that's awesome to see. You know what I mean? It's and some people are going to run their brands the way they run them, and they'll be like, well, my brand is, what I'm going to push. But it's kind of refreshing to see that. That's a.
Well, I mean, I'd be. My nose would grow like this if I was telling you otherwise that I don't smoke your stuff. Yeah. But anyway, that's. We're comfortable in our own skin, and there's room for everybody. Again, what am I fighting for? I'm fighting for a position. We're fighting for a position in someone's humidor.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. We're fighting for the opportunity for you to smoke our stuff and still indulge in other things. I don't drink the same scotch all the time. I don't drink the same craft beers all the time. I don't eat the same food all the time. Why the hell would I smoke the same cigar all the time?
Yeah, that's true.
Depends on taste, depends on mood, depends on everything.
Absolutely.
So I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but I have a question for you. You guys, as we kind of roll back into somewhat of a sense of normalcy, you guys mentioned you're going to TP. You guys have anything special planned for releases in terms of maybe a TP exclusive, if that's going to be the only show that you really exhibit at, or anything like that coming up?
We do. There's a brand that we've been working on called Patrimonio. And Patrimonio is essentially something that's passed down from the male lineage. So for us, again, it's a family thing. Let me back up a little bit. If you look at our bands in our boxes, well, you don't have our box in front of you, but you do have the band in front of you. If you see the Reserva line and the core line, which is what Matt's smoking over here, exactly. Yep. If you look at the core line, you're going to see 4 stars there.
Yep.
And that represents the generations in our family. Yep. There they are. So 1 star, my great-grandfather, my grandpops, my pops, and then myself. And then the 3 seals are Spain, which is where my great-grandfather came from, Cuba, which is where I was born and where the business was born, and then the Dominican Republic, which is the last one. Now, if you look at the blue one, now you've got 5 stars, because the 5th star now includes my son, the 5th generation. And you've also got the U.S. seal at the end, which is where Alec was born. He was born in the United States here in Miami.
Ah,
So we're very much a family. So Patrimonio as a name for the cigars makes sense for us as a family. It's
Yeah.
a Corojo. It's going to be available, and it's the only Corojo we've ever worked with in this line. In a 6x60, we're launching a 6x52 and a 5x54. We call it a Toro Gordo. And that's going to be a TPE launch. The blends are done. The cigars are being worked on. The packaging has been finalized. Now it's a race to get the packaging done before, and Lord willing, we'll be able to get it out. But that's what we're launching at TPE, that extension. We go very slowly in terms of launching stuff. So we let the core line get some legs and get some traction before you come out with a Reserva. Notwithstanding the issue with the Mandaria, the sledgehammer, because that was born out of that circumstance, right?
Right.
But we try to have things sort of get some traction, and then we launch something else. So with the factory, it's really easy kind of like get stuff out there in a hurry. I don't like to do that. We don't like to do that. So that's going to be our next project. And I mean, it's on. The blends have been selected already. The packaging, actually, we're just about there. We signed off on it today. So now it's a matter of getting the whole thing going. So yeah, it's a Corojo. We've never done anything with a Corojo before. I'm excited about it. And it's going to taste something completely different from anything else we have. I'm deathly afraid of having our two Maduros taste the same or two Connecticut's taste the same. La Mandaria with an Habano wrapper tastes like the regular Habano that you're smoking now, Matt. They're not the same. I don't want consumers. I respect consumers too much. I don't want them to think that we're just swapping out bands and just, here's a different packaging, same product. We just don't do that. So Corojo is a step out of our comfort zone. It's a more bitter wrapper than what we're used to working with. But we're excited about the project, and I think we're gonna be okay. Right? Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
But,
yeah.
Knock on wood here, but yeah.
I've really enjoyed this Habano. It's been a very good cigar. All around experience has been fantastic in terms of the quality of the smoke, the burn, the draw, flavor. There's a lot. We smoke a lot of cigars. We smoke a lot of new stuff. We go through a lot of samples. We obviously smoke a lot of the stuff that we like that we can keep on hand.
Sure.
And yeah, you smoke a lot. So, but no, this is good. This is something I would smoke in my rotation.
Did we send you any sledgehammers at all?
I don't think we did. No, we don't.
Okay. I'm going to tomorrow to package up some sledgehammers for you, and I'm going to package for you. We have of the original Lanceros in bundle form. I got to 10, 15 we have left of the Habanos of those flacos, the ones that were stolen.
Yeah.
These things date back to December 2018. I'm going to send you some as well.
No way.
I don't have a
Thank
whole
you.
lot. Yeah, I promise you. I'm a man of my word. We're men of our word. So we will send it. We'll send it to your way tomorrow. So be on the lookout for those. Okay.
Hey, we really appreciate that. That's really awesome. Thank you so much. Actually, that reminds me. I want to bring up, because I know we're running out of time.
You're fine.
For those of us who, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, for those of you guys who were watching with us last week, maybe you guys have already heard this already. If you follow us on social media, I'm sure you've heard of it. But we have announced that we will be doing a charity fundraiser with the Cigar Family Charitable Foundation. We're very proud of this. It's something that I've always wanted to do since day one of smoking tobacco. And we're doing it. So every item sold, every dollar that we make, it's all going on our online store at smokingtobacco.com. All of that is going towards the Cigar Family Charitable Foundation. And we're going to run that through April 30th. There's some exclusive designs that Nicole has been making that are specifically, designed off the charity. There's a really cool shirt she made that I believe it says, I smoke cigars, but I help people too.
Okay.
That's all towards the benefit of the charity. It's a great cause. We had Cynthia Fuente on the show. We talked about it there. I also want to give a quick shout out. I want to thank Abe and everyone at KMA and Smoke In for bringing that up on KMA last weekend. I also want to thank William Cooper for writing a really nice piece about that and sharing that with on his website. So just I want to thank those people so much. It means so much to me. To have them advertise our stuff too.
And they were all our donations too. They jumped right on.
Yeah.
So thank
Yeah,
you.
they all jumped right in.
Hoop and Bear, they bought a shirt too. So thank you guys so much. It means a lot to kind of get a kickoff like that. So.
And those are all really solid people. Everyone you've mentioned there, solid people.
Yeah. So we're
Doesn't
really
surprise me. Good people.
We're really proud to have like those people also speak up for us, and it's an honor to be able to work with people like that too, and call them very good friends. And but also we're also going to have a raffle. So every item purchased gives you one entry into a raffle of various things. We're still putting the list together because it keeps growing. Everyone keeps wanting to throw stuff in. But I promise we'll try to finalize the list so that you guys can all know what's up for grabs. So far, there's a couple boxes of some Nova cigars. There's going to be, I guess I'll announce it. So there's going to be...
We have 3 Nova samplers.
Yeah, 3 Nova samplers. We have a box of the Sterling Timeless from Nat Sherman. We have a box of McAuliffe Leenda Special Edition and as well as there's going to be 2... Oh, these are all individual, so it's not like together. It's individual. There's going to be 2 McAuliffe ashtrays up for grabs. There's going to be a couple bottles of bourbon. There's going to be like an Eagle Rare. Still working out the rest. There could be...
We're doing a Nicole sampler and a Matt sampler where we're picking some of our most expensive cigars out of our humidor and putting together Smoke Like Us samplers. With
cool.
whiskey, because we're big whiskey people. So it'll be like 5 or 6 really nice cigars, as well as a bottle of some sort of whiskey for each of us.
And like I said, the list keeps growing. There's also going to be some LFD samplers in there that you might have seen before. I think there's a Toro, a Busto, or maybe a Chisel sampler. Those will also be in there as well. So like I said, there's some really cool stuff, and we're going to try to get a full public list out as soon as we can finalize that. But there's already a lot of stuff in there.
Very cool.
So,
very cool.
But having said that, we are getting towards the end of the show. I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to throw it to our guests. They've been gracious in us to come on the show and give us some of their time. We really appreciate it. If there's anything you guys want to say, the floor is yours.
Oh, gosh. What an honor and what a privilege to be on the show. Thanks for even considering us for this. It's always humbling, right?
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah.
It's always humbling that you folks would even take the time to notice us. And by the way, for what it's worth, we're going to be sending a couple of boxes your way for the raffle that you're talking about now and for the event. So I'll let you know. I guess once we're off air, we'll go through the gamut of everything we have and whatever you guys decide that you think would be best, we will be sending those your way as well. So
yeah,
I don't know, folks. I mean, if you haven't smoked us and you find us somewhere, give us a try and let us know how you think about it or how you feel about it. You can always email us. Our email is on our website, casacuevascigars.com. We just aim to be part of your rotation. That's all. And we're always very honored and just find it a privilege that anybody would pick up our cigars and enjoy them. So what a treat. Anything else to add, Flaco?
Nailed it.
Okay.
Guys, thank you for coming on the show. Nicole, is there anything that you wanted to say?
Just tune in next week. We'll have Omar from Fratello Cigars on next week.
Cool guy.
And then we're going to end up with Pete Johnson from Tatuaje.
Cool.
So.
Cool.
Tatuaje, I can't wait for that. That's going to be fun. So, and then another reminder, we will be with John after this, I think at 9 o'clock our time Eastern. 9 Eastern, so 6 o'clock Pacific. He will be live from Fox Cigars in Arizona for the gourmet smoke sessions. What number is this? Is this 5?
I can't remember, but they're going to be selling a special release cigar, LFD cigar, which has a clover on it. So
cool!
That'll be.
And it's based off of the cigar formerly known as M blend line. with a different artwork on it for St. Patrick's Day. So that's going to be an exclusive to Fox Cigars. So make sure you guys check that out if you guys are interested in that. Other than that, this has been a great show. It's been a great time. This cigar was fantastic. We'll see you guys next week. Take care, everyone.
And you guys stay on for a minute. But bye, guys.
You got it. Bye.